How can I truly attain the self or full consciousness? It's not about attaining the self. If the self were something to be gained, it would imply that it's not present here and now, that it still needs to be acquired. What can be obtained by its very nature can also be lost. Therefore, it's impermanent, and what is impermanent isn't worth our continuous pursuit or effort. I assert that the self cannot be attained because you are the self. You are already the very essence, the consciousness you seek. What occurs is an ignorance regarding your intrinsic state of bliss. This ignorance manifests as a veil covering the pure self, which is, in its essence, bliss. Our attempts, then, are not to gain the self, but rather to remove this veil of ignorance. This veil is nothing more than erroneous knowledge, a false identification. False identification happens when the self is confused with the physical body and the mind. It's crucial that this mistaken identification dissolves, allowing only the true self to remain. But what in reality is this ignorance? Ignorance is an obstruction. Our purpose is simply to remove it. Ignorance doesn't exist on its own. It is coexistent with the ego. It doesn't have an independent existence. If you can remove the ego, ignorance will dissipate along with it. Through the sincere practice of self-inquiry, or atma-vichara, you will realize that the ego is the very source of ignorance. How could ignorance exist alone, without the support and nourishment of the ego? By dismantling the ego, ignorance naturally unravels. Why cling to the ego and consequently suffer? Simply be. Don't be this or that, just be. This pure being is the path to the end of ignorance. Indeed, all of us recognize our own existence. No one can deny themselves their own self. However, daily life often hinges on the presence of ignorance, which is nothing other than the forgetfulness of the self. Just as darkness cannot exist in the presence of sunlight, ignorance cannot subsist in the presence of the self. The self is self-evident, self-luminous. Just be. By becoming fully conscious of the self, the darkness, ignorance, and all the misery we perceive, which are products of the mind, will disappear. Remember the self. That's all that needs to be done. If you truly dedicate yourself to spiritual investigation, you will discover that the mind itself, in its current form, will have completely vanished. For, in its deepest essence, it never existed as an entity separate from the self.